Hey there you guys, welcome back to Plow and Pantry. Today is another edition of the Every Bit Counts Challenge update. We're updating days 7 to 12. Today I'm probably gonna be a little bit later posting the video because I've got several things going on, including out of town appointments, but I wanted to go ahead and get it recorded. It is 6:50 in the morning. The sun hasn't been up that long. I'm getting ready to go outside, work in the garden while it's hot rather than too hot to live. And I wanted to get through some of the stuff that I got preserved this week. If you're not familiar with the Every Bit Counts Challenge, you must be new around here. This is put on by Jessica at Rivers Homestead. I will link her channel below. And if you love food preservation, just search the hashtag Every Bit Counts Challenge or Every Bit Counts, and you'll find lots of people participating and videos of what they've preserved. And I believe some people are actually doing it on Instagram too. So if you prefer that, you can go over there. But the point is to preserve something every single day in August. And right now is kind of a hard time, but we got some things done. So the first day, this would be the 7th, I froze 6 bags of cooked kidney beans. I needed kidney beans for dinner. I had just canned some last week, if you saw that video, and I decided instead of breaking into that stash that I would cook some more. I had time, put a whole bunch in my Instant Pot, more than I needed, and decided to freeze the rest because I didn't have time to can it that day. And this is what I used to do before I had a pressure canner as an adult, is I would cook beans, buy them dry because it's cheaper that way, and cook them and freeze them in 2-cup increments, which is about as much as a can. So I froze 6 bags, which equals 6 cans. Unfortunately, you might see here, my deep freezer had a door left open for several hours once this week. And I didn't lose anything because nothing thawed all the way. Everything was still at least half frozen. But you know what it does when you partially thaws and then refreezes. So they are still edible though. So I'm gonna keep them. I've got 6. These 6, I put them in quart-sized bags just to keep them, they could fit in a sandwich bag very tightly, but sandwich bags just to me aren't good for freezing unless, sometimes I will fill a sandwich bag and put like several sandwich bags inside a quart or gallon bag. That's when I'll do that, okay? So that was day 1. I was going easy because I did not have time. I wasn't home much that day. Day 2, or technically day 8, I'm dripping on this. Day 8, all I got done was some fridge pickles. This is a 1.5 quart. I get these jars from Azure. I love the 1.5 quart size. It works for me for a lot of things. I mentioned last week that doing the fridge pickles is a way to make pickles when you don't have a ton coming out of the garden at one time. You have to do a whole big batch because it's kind of easy to just make a little bit of brine and pour over it, stick it in the fridge, and not have to make the whole big batch, cook it, put it in the canner, all that stuff. So a 1.5 pint jar. This next week I will have some better luck. Although I'm not sure I'm ever gonna have a big batch this year. I might have to stop by a farm store and pick up some pickles. Cucumbers. So on the 9th of August, I made beef broth. So I had a baggie of like beef trimmings in my freezer in here that I wanted to get out. So I made beef broth with it. It made 6 pints. Not sure if you can see here that I have 3 pints right here. I chose to make that because I needed beef broth for a recipe I was making that week. I don't remember what I made. I've already forgotten what I've cooked this week. But I knew I needed beef broth, and I knew that we were out of it downstairs. So I was like, this is the perfect time to make and can some. I kept 2 pints out for that, for cooking whatever that was. And that left me at 4 pints. I have 3 left here because when I went to can them, I actually had 1 jar break, which doesn't happen very often. It broke all the way around the rim down here. And there are a couple reasons that could happen if that happens to you. One, it could be headspace problems. I'm pretty sure that's not my issue. I measured the headspace for these and they were all right on. I'm kind of a stickler about headspace. So I don't think it was that. Another thing it could be, and this is probably what happened, well, it could be, we'll get back to that. So it could be, when I made the beef broth, I did not have time to can it that day. I made it, put it in a pitcher because we had to go somewhere at night, in the fridge, and the next morning scooped off the fat, poured it in the jars, and put it in the canner. And when you can, you want everything to be the same temperature. Like, it was cold broth. I let it sit out for like an hour, but it was still pretty cold. Cold broth, room temperature jars, and I put cold water in my canner. If you do hot food, you want a hot jar and hot water in your canner. I put in cold water, but it might just not have been cold enough compared to the broth, because a sudden temperature change, like when the canner starts to heat up the water, it might have just been too much of a temperature change and caused that crack around the bottom. And the reason I'm thinking it was probably that is because usually with headspace problems, it'll like explode. With temperature change, it'll crack in a circle all the way around. And I learned that once in my very early 20s when I was making, remember those sun tea jars? There's like a gallon size, I had a gallon size glass jar, and you would put tea bags in water and sit it out in the sun. I didn't really like sun tea, but I would use the jars because I like the jars with the spigot on it. And I had put ice in the bottom, and I had boiling water with tea that I poured into it, and it cracked in a perfect circle just a little bit up from the bottom. So I'm thinking that's probably what it was. The last thing it could be, it could have just been that the jar was compromised and I didn't realize it. Maybe I missed a little hairline fracture or something. Again, I think the pattern would have broke differently. So just a guess, but I'm thinking it was a temperature issue. So pay attention to those temperatures going in. So I only ended up with 3 pints of beef broth, but now I have some on the shelf and I didn't have any before. I do have, I think, more beef trimmings that I need to make more broth with, so we're good there. I have 5 pints of canned corn here. I went to a farm store in Blackmore, Virginia. It's called Man Farms. I love to go there. They've got great prices, great little family store. And I bought this huge giant bag of corn. I believe it was 60 ears, 5 dozen. And spent a day shucking it and then cutting the corns off the cob, the kernels off the cob. That was a day all of itself. And there were several things I want to do with this. So one of the things I want to do is canned corn. So this is canned, this is 5 pints. I did 1 canner load. It does have to be pressure canned, 55 minutes. I'm at 15 pounds weight for pints. And I just did so I do corn slightly different. You can either raw pack corn or you can cook it and can it. I always liked the look of the cooked can because it's clearer, but I like the taste of the raw pack. So what I decided to do, or what I do, is I actually put my corn in my jars, fill it with water, rinse it, like shake it. A lot of that starch that makes it cloudy comes out, and pour that out because I don't feel like the starch is where the flavor is really necessarily. So I rinse it, refill it. I do find it easier to actually rinse it in the jar. I used to try to like put it in a big bowl, rinse it, but I don't have a big giant strainer, and I was dealing with a lot of corn. So I find it fairly simple to just put some water in a jar, shake it around, use my hand to drip it out, and put more water in. So I did these 5 pints of corn that day, and on the same day, I wanted to try a new way of doing frozen corn. And so normally you cook corn a little bit, lay it out, freeze it, maybe flash freeze it, and then put it in bags. This was from the book Freeze Fresh, which I would show you my book, but I had a puppy when I got that book and it's torn up, it's chewed up. So I'll put a picture on the screen and I can link it for you. But this was just a slightly different process. It used a tiny bit of water with the corn, and you like heat it for a little bit longer, but stir it every couple minutes, and then cool it, not flash freeze it, cool it, and I put it in bags. These are 10-ounce bags. I wasn't sure how much the recipe would make. So 1 recipe for 6 cups of corn made 3 bags. And so I would probably do some more. I want to test it to see if I like this method first, because I do use frozen corn more than canned corn. So I would like to use, I still have some of that corn that I shucked. 2 more things I want to do with that. Make some more corn, frozen corn. And then there's a recipe I flagged last winter in a book that I want to try with like pinto beans and corn and peppers. So I want to do that. But I got, so 3 bags. This was the same day where I had these going in the canner and I had this going on the stovetop. The next day, because I had all that corn shucked, I needed to deal with it. I went ahead and canned some more. Now I did forget when I did this batch that I salt my corn. So this is unsalted, this is salted. I'm gonna have to make a note on it. 1/2 teaspoon per pint. There's just 5 more pints. And I did the same method other than the salt. It's the same. And the jars, I was out of my regular mouth, so I had to put them in wide mouth jars. Doesn't bother me to have different types of jars on the shelf. So the next day was 5 pints of the frozen corn. And then the last day on the 12th. Yes, the 12th. It's today the 13th already? I haven't had a chance to clean these up yet because they were yesterday's. This is 7 quarts of chicken. I did raw pack chicken. I've made a video on the raw pack chicken before. I went to, I did one of those sales at an Amish store where you can buy like a 40-pound box of chicken. Got it home. I got out my big All-American canner so that I could do more at one time. I immediately got 7 quarts of chicken. I often can my chicken in pints, but I also often use 2 pints at a time. So I was like, I will just can a bunch in quarts this time. Got that going. I still have chicken to deal with. I'm probably going to do one more canner load of chicken. We had it for dinner that night, and I still have some left. I put some in the freezer for future meals, like chicken breasts, and I think I have enough. I don't know if I have enough for 7 quarts, but I do have enough for another canner load of some amount. We'll see what that ends up being. It probably depends on whether or not we have chicken for dinner tonight, because I don't want to thaw what I already put back in the freezer. So I have about 10 pounds in the fridge right now. So that will happen this week. I need to finish up my corn projects this week. I've got some harvesting to do out in the garden this morning, along with a ton of weeding. And I've got tomato sauce going, like marinara sauce, in a roaster behind you. So next week we have a lot to catch up on too. But thank you guys for joining me. Just wanted to update you for where I'm at, and I will see you in the next video in a couple days, and hopefully next week too for another update of the Every Bit Counts Challenge. It's been exciting to get so much on the shelf and get a lot done. I'll see you guys in the next one.